You're listening to Sustainably Geeky, the podcast for everyday environmentalists.
Hi, and welcome to Sustainably Geeky, episode 11. We are here today with Jennifer,
hello,
Chris, and Ray.
Hello.
And we have a special guest, Lenna, today.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking about sustainable parenting. So, disclaimer before we get started, neither I nor the other Jen on the show is a parent yet. So, we are going to be providing some supplemental information, but the majority of the real life experience and tips you'll get will be coming from Ray, Chris, and Lenna. So, we will try not to parent-splain to you guys too much.
Go ahead. I'd be really interested because we were such awesome
what I think you guys should do.
You say.
Right. But before we get started,
can I just add to that? Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I just add to that? That whatever worked for us may not work for you. So you have to do what works for you as well, and your whole family. And I'm sure Lenna can say that too. Like,
yeah,
because we planned on certain things, and we thought for sure we were going to do this, and then it happens. It's like, no, that's not going to work.
No. Yep. You live and you learn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we're just providing two perspectives. And when you become a parent, I have heard that you can make all the plans in the world, but at the end of the day, whether you're trying to live sustainably or not, you don't have a lot of control over the things that happen with the kids and in your house, and that's fine. So we just want to give you guys some options and show you a couple of perspectives. So Chris and Ray, can you guys kind of just start by telling us about your kids and, why you decided to try to parent sustainably, and just give us a brief, overview, and then we'll jump into some of the actual tips and tricks.
Yeah, sure. So I have a wife that's a pain in the ass, and she brought me onto the dark side.
Yes, I am the hippie of the two of us. So it was me introducing Ray into all these things, which I think happens in parenting. You read something, you find something out, and then you tell your partner. So a lot of the sustainable eco tips, whatever, were my idea first and then telling him. But we have two kids. We have a boy and a girl. Our daughter Logan is 13 and our son Quinn is 11. We live in Ontario, Canada. And and we have been initially when we had our daughter, she was a lovely surprise. So we were not prepared whatsoever. We didn't know what we were doing. We were
most parents don't.
Yeah, we were a little young. To be fair. Yeah. So we didn't know what we were doing. And I think like most new parents rely on their your own parents' guidance and things like that. So they are very traditional. We did the formula, the diapers, everything. Unfortunately, our parents weren't super supportive of any ecological, sustainable ideas that we had
at all.
I still get made fun of for Logan's birthday cake when she was 1. My mom still makes fun of me for that.
Aww.
Yeah.
But she got a hit.
What's the cake?
It was chocolate banana loaf, except I made it with whole wheat flour. Logan ate it. She
loved it.
She loved it. She didn't give
chocolate sauce and everything.
1-year-old.
She's 1. She's not gonna. Yeah. So my mom still makes fun of me. We did try cloth diapering. It was a disaster.
Yeah, the cream does not. It seals up your diapers.
If you have butt cream with zinc in it, it creates a lovely little protective waterproof barrier for the diapers. We didn't know that. There weren't blogs, there wasn't Instagram or anything when we first became parents, so we didn't have a lot of resources to draw from. So a lot of it was trial.
It was all still kind of out there.
Yeah,
quite.
So it wasn't until we moved here about 6 years ago when we sold everything and lived in a trailer that we really dived into the more hippie side of things. And the kids were 7 and 5 at that point. So
it seems like forever.
Okay.
It does. But that's when it all started. And now, 6 years later, we're still living it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So y'all will give us kind of a perspective of, the older kids, what you're going through now, and some from when they were younger.
Literally.
Lenna actually has 2 younger kids under the age of 3. So Lenna, tell us about your journey with this and your kids.
Yeah, well, I have this friend who's a pain in my ass, and her name is Jennifer.
I can take all the credit for this.
Yeah.
I would prefer to use the word inspiration, really. But so, it's a hard time, I think, to be a parent, because you wonder, the number one thing you can do for the environment is not reproduce. Mm-hmm. And which is a hard thing to say out loud. But I think we have to really think about that. That weighs heavy on me. I made the decision to have kids anyways, and love my kids. I'm thankful for my kids, but I also want to make sure that I'm not making a selfish choice, and that I'm responsible with that. So we try just one thing at a time, so this week, my examples too were very non-traditional parents. And I found very quickly that you can't control what happens at Nana's house, or Gigi's house. They're going to do whatever they want to do.
Yep.
Yeah. And you just got to let it go because you're thankful for that. Thank you for baby. Yeah. You can't control everything, but we just try to kind of limit one thing at a time. So, and we did a lot of decisions. My husband had not had any exposure to kids. So whenever we decided to have a family, he was terrified, right? So certain things like cloth diapers were a hard no. That was a hard, that sounds horrible for me. I don't want to do it. And it's well, if I want help with the diapers, I should consider his feelings. Mm-hmm. So we kind of compromise on some of those things. And we didn't make the cloth diaper choice, but it was an honest debate in our household whether or not to do it. But we did do some other alternative diaper situations, trying to be as friendly as possible within using regular diapers. But anyways, that's kind of my backstory. We're learning as we go. We started daycare, so that's been fun. Mm-hmm. A whole new amount of problems. So, yeah.
What do you do with all that artwork, right? It's
all the crafts they come home with.
They come home with paper every day.
Yeah.
And I'm she is 6 months old. She doesn't need to make artwork at school.
No.
I am not for this. And then there's the tears. She finds it in the trash can, just tears of you are recycling. Our recycling bins are open. So if I go to recycle some of the artwork, it's where she can see it.
Mm-hmm. You're throwing away my stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Just real tears.
Yeah. The struggle's real under that age.
Oh yeah.
Everything. Okay. Well, awesome. So you guys have kind of already touched on this. So I guess let's just jump into diapering. I mean, you mentioned that Chris and Ray, you tried cloth diapering. Lenna, you have tried some other types of diapers. So when people are thinking about diapers, obviously, I think when I think about parenting, one of the biggest waste producers is diapers, right? And there are a lot of times got a lot of plastic on them. I think more recently, as consumers become more conscious, companies are starting to make them with more natural materials that break down some, but there are still some issues with a lot of the, if there are chemicals in them and things like that. So what kind of research did y'all do, or what kind of lessons did you learn, I guess, with this?
Sensitive skin knows no brand. Your baby could react to the most fluffiest cloud natural material ever, and they'll break out in the worst rash ever. So you have to unfortunately, it's a bit of an experiment. We did the traditional diapers. Again, there wasn't anything that was organic or disposable. It was really expensive, so we couldn't afford that at the time. So yeah, baby skin is just sort of a bit of a crapshoot. It really depends.
It's very crappy.
It's very crappy. And we did try cloth diapers. I think our daughter was 1, and we didn't do it for our son. We were just nope, total nightmare. We are going with the path of least resistance with 2. So we just did traditional diapers with him. But yeah, it has to work for your budget, because cloth diapers are a big initial investment.
Well, but the nice thing is,
explain how you actually clean them and use them. I mean, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yep. Go ahead.
No, finish what you were going to say. I was just going to say, explain how you use them and clean them and everything.
Well, okay, so the cloth diapers that we had their own liners as well, right? So you had a reusable liner, and then you had the cloth part that went inside the liner, so that they were easy to put on and off. I will say, at first they were okay. They absorbed enough urine, and they absorbed. That's the other thing. If they have messy poops, don't use them at all.
Anything. It doesn't matter.
So
it doesn't matter.
Fiery poops. Not a good idea.
No, not at all. But what we didn't have, and we were trying to research, was they have bins and stuff that you can get where you just put the whole thing in that, like, and then you put it at the side of the road, and they have a company that would pick them up and clean them for you and drop off a fresh set, which would have been amazing, except it wasn't available where we were. And if that had been available, especially with Quinn, we would have jumped all over it.
Yeah, but we live in rural Midwestern Ontario, so a diaper service was not available. But we did do disposable. Yeah. Which
unfortunately,
it just is what it is. But there are a lot, I will say, because it was over a decade ago. So the options, world. So the options that are available now it's amazing. It's amazing what's available now. So to the new parent who wants to make conscious decisions, you have a lot more options than what we did. But again, it's up to baby skin at the end of it.
Yeah.
Whether they like it or not. I think you do have to consider like your help. So a lot of daycares won't take cloth diapers at all.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And like, for me, I had grandparents that were doing some of the childcare whenever my kids were little. And it's like, am I going to ask my, 80-year-old grandmother to wash a cloth diaper, So you just kind of got to think about how it impacts everyone around you. Yeah. And so for us, cloth diapers, but I did read online that like, even if you can use a cloth diaper sometimes, they still recommend that. Because any diaper that you're not throwing in the trash is obviously a win, which, I didn't do. But I think it also helps whenever you get to the point when babies are little. It is normal for a baby to poop anywhere from 7 times a day to once every 7 days.
Yes.
You heard me correctly. Both of those are normal. Which basically is to say that nothing is normal. Everything is normal. So if you have a baby that's pooping 7 times a day, obviously cloth diapers are going to have a different impact on you than if you have a baby that's pooping 1 time a day. And one of the things I didn't know until I was actually preparing for this podcast is that even if you use regular diapers, you are supposed to knock the poop off into the toilet before you throw it away. Because human feces in the landfill actually at some point could affect our water supply.
Sorry for everybody.
I know no one who does that. And I breastfed both of my children. So when you talk about the consistency of poop, like we have nothing but beautiful mustard yellow. It's mustard yellow and it is loose 100% of the time. It is never fully formed poop. So I'm not sure how you get that into the toilet, just from a sheer logic perspective.
Jen's face, yeah.
Jen's face is trying so hard not to laugh.
I know, Jen, I'm just watching you right now.
I can't handle this.
She's like, I'm done.
I was just watching
I'm
you
out.
get redder and redder.
I thought I was imagining it too. So thank you for those listening. Jen is making some incredulous faces right now.
She feels like she's gotten away with something.
She didn't know this podcast was going to go this way.
Straight to the poop. Straight in.
Yeah. Well, we're just starting. I mean, buckle up.
What happens, man? Oh yeah, wait till we get to puke.
So hang on a minute. So just to let you guys know, just because we're in the topic anyway, a friend of mine, he had to go through a pretty quick emergency with his child around Christmas time because his child was about 2, couldn't really talk all that much, and decided to eat 2 magnets. Yeah.
Who was that?
Mike. So anyway,
you had to fish through the poop, make sure the magnet's back.
So yes, he had to then open every diaper afterwards, and he had a special fork that was delineated just to this job, and he had to match it all out to look for the magnets afterwards.
Oh my God.
Everybody.
Welcome to parenthood.
Yeah, welcome to parenthood. Yep.
that note,
You get it.
yeah,
So I guess
you mentioned that the. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to just say, with regards to like regular diapers, there are a lot of eco-friendly options now that are made out of sustainable resources like bamboo. I think the heart,
Where were those when?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get them on Amazon and subscribe and save. So they give you like a 20% discount if you get a box once a month, and just options that weren't available.
No,
Yeah, we did a subscription service, and so every 6 weeks it sends me like 7 packs of diapers, and I get a discount because I buy them, in packs of 6. And the hard part is you can't just go to the grocery store and grab them if you need them, so you do kind of sacrifice that. But in a pinch, you can always use something else. But to answer, we talked about cloth diapers a lot, but to talk about regular diapers.
That's nice that there's those options now.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you guys talked a little bit about the cream forming that waterproof barrier. So is there anything that can be used with cloth diapers or regular that is sustainable and not, I think is kind of bad for the environment anyways, but
it clears up a diaper rash like that though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure there are now. There weren't really, again, that were economical. There's way more things now that are way more doable, and you could make your own. I did know a couple of moms back in the day who did make their own diaper cream. I just wasn't that savvy.
I'm sure there's a coconut oil based one out there somewhere now.
Coconut oil is good for everything, right?
Slap it on there, it's fine.
Before we move on, Jen, do you have anything you want to add to this topic?
I have a question about baby powder. I've heard that there's like bad stuff in that. Did you guys? Okay.
Carcinogenics.
What products specifically do you guys have, like brand names that you prefer?
We didn't use baby powder.
No.
We didn't. Okay. Yeah. No. I think you have to think about what the reasoning for using baby powder is. And usually what baby powder can solve can be solved with fresh air. Yeah. So like put a blanket in the backyard and set your naked baby on it, and it's butt will dry.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let them be free.
A better healer. Yeah.
That's all I got.
Anything else before we move on, guys?
Just be gentle with yourself with the whole diapering thing. Like we said before.
Don't feel too guilty about it.
You can have this great, glorious green plan, but it really gets shot to hell once you have kids.
Especially in an emergency.
Yes. Things happen. You have to be gentle with yourself with this whole thing because it's there's no handbook. You learn on your feet.
And I don't know about you guys. We didn't use baby powder. We also didn't really use rash cream. I maybe used 1 tube on each of my kids total. Like,
we had two.
We had two with because they had really sensitive skin. Yeah. So for both of them, we had to more our son because.
I disagree. I think Logan had.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Whatever. It was a long time ago. Yep. We used it.
We had to. There was.
Yeah.
It was. I remember both of them having a really bad rash once each time, and it had to happen. Our poor son was. We didn't know it, but he was lactose intolerant. We didn't find out until he was 3, so we were wondering why he was just blowing out like 6 or 7 diapers a day, and he had a bad rash. Yeah. And then once we got off the dairy, he was fine.
Yeah.
Look at Jen. Oop, Jen. Oop.
Sorry, my husband's a nurse, and so he's like, "Why do you freak out about baby diapers? I have to wipe like human butts." It's way worse.
Now,
it doesn't smell until they start eating table food. So.
I was about to say, as soon as they start eating table food, it smells like anything.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah,
especially when they're sick.
Yeah.
Oh, don't remind me.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that had to change the diaper with the towel around his face.
It was awful. Okay, so totally off topic. He made a big literal.
He was vain.
He would put his T-shirt up over his nose every single time,
and then a towel around it.
He would either cough or gag every time. I didn't. I must have.
Why didn't you just buy a face mask? Like.
Because the towel
it was
worked.
his own kids. I can understand with other people's kids, like smelling. That's gross. But like, yeah, our own children. He was gagging. He made a big scene. It was ridiculous.
Every time.
It was dramatic.
Well, this might not be the best transition, but since we're talking about food,
yeah,
let's go ahead and talk about food. And obviously, when they're younger, you know, a lot of folks try to breastfeed. Lenna, I know you're a very big proponent of breastfeeding, and then once they start eating other foods, there's different options as far as what you can buy or make. So, what was y'all's experience with all that?
I had postpartum with my daughter, so breastfeeding wasn't even an option. I actually had prenatal depression, so with her, it wasn't even. I couldn't at all. I couldn't emotionally, mentally, physically. I could have. So, and it was pretty decent depression for about 6 to 9 months, and then once I had my son, it was so wonderful and great. I didn't want to rock the boat and it come back again, so we formula fed both the kids.
Which was helpful for me as well because it made me feel like I could actually help them, especially during the night.
Yeah, and it helped me. It helped me deal with the postpartum. So for us, formula feeding saved us.
Yeah, and I think recognizing that their formula is a great option, especially for dads, and that breastfeeding is a legitimate sacrifice. Like it is.
Oh, yeah.
It is really hard.
And I have his sister is like, she is a breastfeeding guru. This woman breastfed she has 3 children. So the first 2 she breastfed for 2 years. The last baby was 3.5 years she breastfed. And she was a champ. For her, it was the sacrifice, but it was a willing sacrifice.
Right.
And then, but she loved it. She was on the Lacy League and everything. She thought it was super important. I just couldn't do it. And it was one of those, it may be best in terms of all these things that you can think of, but in terms of for my survival, I just couldn't do it.
Don't feel guilty if you have to go that way. Yeah. Like it's, again, it is a viable option. There are some better things on the market now.
Oh yeah, way better formula than what we
But again, it's an option out there that if you are struggling, use it. Right?
Yeah, like it's absolutely. And even as supplementing, you know, a lot of moms when they go back to work really struggle and beat themselves up when their milk supply dries up. Yeah. And its formula is perfectly good. There is nothing wrong with formula. Formula is great.
My kids are fine. They're thriving. They're great.
Yeah.
But for us, it was the best option. And for especially for my recovery, it was huge for us to have formula. Yeah.
And breastfeeding.
I think that's really important.
Sorry.
Go ahead, finish.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of people think that if you're breastfeeding, there isn't waste. But that is a misnomer because if you are storing any milk, all of those breast milk bags go in the waste. And for me, I actually have about a 3-month store of breast milk in my freezer right now.
That's awesome.
Is great. Yeah. Like everybody's like, kudos. Like I will be able to continue giving my daughter breast milk even when I stop producing. Mm-hmm. But the downside is that that's an amount of milk that I can't store in plastic reusable containers. That stuff in plastic bags. And every time I put milk in a plastic bag, I just think 250 years. Like this is going to be in a landfill somewhere for 250 years and they're not recyclable and they're not, So I think it's definitely something, that you have to kind of enter into knowing what you're getting into because there's no perfect solution.
No. And that's the thing is that there isn't because, with the formula, there's the cans that are wasteful. You have bottles. They're much better bottle options now. For us, it was plastic. Yep. That's what we could use.
There's the liners.
There's the sterilization equipment. Like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Whatever works for you and your baby, that's what you should do. And sort of the environment needs to sort of take a back seat for a little bit because it's about survival at that point, right? Especially when they're newborns. You just have to get through it.
So I was reading about this bottle called Pura bottles, and they are stainless steel, the bottle part, and then the nipple is silicone, medical grade silicone. So no liners used, and it's stainless steel, so it's it doesn't taste like metal or have residue. But I thought that was interesting, but not having used them in years except for when I was helping with my siblings and all we had were the liners and everything. I don't know how those would function. I just thought that was an interesting concept. So
I'm worried about air. And then,
the air intake.
How do you get the air out?
We did come across a couple of bottles that we used at the time. They were reusable liners. I remember having to wash the liners separately. Yeah, we did have those, and it would allow the air. They wouldn't suck as much air in. That being said,
we had pukers, so it was really, really important we get all the air out because we had pukers.
They were bad.
Yeah. Poor Logan. Every time there was a hiccup or a little bit of a burp, you were changing your clothes and her clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just up it came.
Like beyond reflux. Yeah.
Yeah. And Quinn wasn't as bad, but Logan was our barfer. You'd have to hold her out.
Yeah,
just through.
It was just away from you.
Yeah. Parts to get it all away.
Well, if anyone's listening that is an aspiring engineer scientist, this is a great opportunity. It sounds like to develop more sustainable materials or instruments for feeding, breastfeeding, bottles, etc.
Because that stainless steel bottle sounds like a great idea, but all I keep thinking about with our puker children is how do you get the air bubbles out?
Well, that and then the other part that I'm also thinking of is warming the milk.
Yeah, warming the formula.
Well, apparently you can put them right in the oven, or I'm sorry, in the stove or the bottle
into the boiling water.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah. Not the microwave, probably. Not a good idea.
Nope.
You're very young. We didn't know what we were doing.
No, I'm saying stainless steel. You wouldn't put that in the microwave.
You can't put that in the microwave. You'll wreck some stuff.
Well, you'll burn some stuff out, and you won't do it twice.
No.
You'll learn.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very important what you guys said, though.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say what they said about the breastfeeding and feeling, like you have to do it for whatever reason. A lot of moms out there have guilt either way. So just make the decision that's best for you and your lifestyle and do the best you can. Don't feel like you have to be 100% in every way because anything we do is going to have an impact. So you just got to, do what you're able to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sorry, Jen, go ahead.
I was just gonna mention one of my original questions to you guys was how do you break the convenience dilemma? Because time is always an issue. So it's almost like how do you find that balance sometimes when you're trying to make that decision?
It all depends on what you want to sacrifice, right? Like there was times where I remember crab porta bottles, we had to do the dishes, and you're going through and washing all this stuff, where if we just had disposable ones, you could just slip in the new one and not worry about it. But so I think you just kind of figure that out for yourself in the way of what do you need at that point in time, right? Do you need more sleep, or can you sacrifice a little bit and just make the extra effort to wash? Or
you can prepare all you want, and then the situation happens, and then you're like, and you make the best of it. you
be flexible, in other words.
Yes, you MacGyver the crap out of it. Yes,
right.
Very flexible, and just try not to be super hard, because I will tell you, mommy bloggers, there's a good chunk that are super supportive, but the rest of y'all, super, super judgy and have a wonderful way of making you feel like a pile of crap.
Yeah. Mom shaming is a real problem.
Mom shaming is huge, huge. Even like Instagram. I'm so glad they didn't have Instagram when my kids were babies, because it would have been passive aggressive comment after passive aggressive comment.
It's gotten to the point that I'm curious as to why people still do it. Like, can we not just accept that what works for us doesn't work for everybody else? Can you just understand that, people come from different parts of the world, and maybe what works for you isn't available where they are. Can you not judge them for not using what you use?
Because my way's best, obviously.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Shit, I forgot.
Building in some forgiveness for yourself too.
Yes.
So a lot of moms will feel shame when their plan is to breastfeed and then something gets in the way, and it's like, no, it's okay. That was plan A. There was a perfectly good plan B. I think for us, one of the things, especially when we got into pureed food, I tried really hard to make all of the first pureed foods. And there's some things that are really easy, like avocados and bananas, because you can just mash them up with a fork and feed it to your baby. It's great. But sometimes you just don't have time to cut a fruit. I know that seems ridiculous because it takes 30 seconds, but you need those convenient goo packs that, once again, are not sustainable. But I think what we did was we would always keep one box in the pantry for forgiveness sake. Mm-hmm. And so we would try plan A first, which is us making the food. If plan A ever didn't work, we had food that was available for plan B. Yep. So we had that forgiveness built in, but that does take some like planning on your part, because you have to have both options available. You don't have always.
And again, then it gets into just because it's happening at your place and you're able to do this at your place. When you go to mom and dad's, or if you go to grandparents' place, or you go to aunt's place, all rules are out the window again, right?
Yeah.
So,
My grandparents were obsessed with giving grapes to my baby. And of course, from reading mom blogs, like, why give any child under the age of 2 a grape? Like, just don't risk it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because you have to have the conversation about how small to cut up the grape.
Yeah.
First time baby, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And I'm always like, why risk it? Why risk giving them a grape if it's not cut up? Just cut up the grape. It's easy. But then why does my baby know what grapes are and I've never given her a grape? Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's
surprised not allergic to peanuts. So
I remember my mom being terrified that we gave my niece a piece of green pepper. She was teething and it felt great on her gums
because it was cold.
And it was cold and it was working really well, but she was terrified of it because she thought, well, what if she breaks off a piece? And it's like,
she's got no teeth.
She's got no teeth. It's not going to make it through. Yeah, those gums are hard, but she's not going to be able to break that open. Like, it's so.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. She also has a thing about balloons.
So,
sorry.
No. Yeah.
Jen, you were asking about how do you pick like when to do what. I found an interesting article when I was doing some research. Sierra Club talks about a book written by Mary DeMocker, and it's called The Parent's Guide to Climate Revolution. And one of the things that she talks about in her book is, you can make all these plans to do all these sustainable things and, pack things in reusable containers and, make your own food, etc. But there comes a point when you have to decide if doing those little things that will impact your family's carbon footprint minimally are more important than maybe doing something much bigger that might actually have a larger impact around your state, city, world, like calling your congressman or going to a town hall or, volunteering with groups. So that I thought that was an interesting perspective, because a lot of times we get so zoned in on what can I do in my house, and we don't think about, the amount of time I'm spending washing all these things. Maybe I could just, forgive myself for throwing this away and instead just devote that time to something that might be more beneficial in the long run. So something to think about. Yeah. And it looks like a great book.
That's great advice.
That's great advice. And just to tag along with that one, we're coming up to an election in the next 5-6 months. So getting those questions out before an election, then you might actually get some feedback beforehand too, right? So go to your MPs, send them a letter, send them an email.
I don't think they have MPs down there.
Go to your
local representative.
I don't know what they are.
Congressmen, senators.
Yes.
Those would be your.
If you're in Canada, it's the MPs. And you know that. But yeah, so I'm actually thinking about a letter that we should actually send to our local government, just to ask those questions, because the one of the governments that is running, they don't really have a environmental plan, and that was the Conservatives, and that was equivalent to your Republicans, and so now that's so what's actually interesting, no, it's okay. What's actually interesting is because of all the pressure on them to have something, they're actually going to release it next month, so that they actually show what they are planning, because they haven't shared it yet. So
our conservative government cut a lot of incentives. That's okay. We're getting
off topic.
So constituent input matters, in other words.
Yes.
And
that is wonderful advice.
whether you live in Canada or the US, we have primaries coming up in the fall.
Okay.
Most of us in Texas just had our local municipal elections, but there's usually elections every 6 months in Texas, whether it's a primary or local election or the national election. So become aware of when your election cycle is. When you're a parent, more than any other time in your life, I think your time becomes a much more precious commodity, right? So really knowing how best to spend it, like y'all said, and forgiving yourself if you cut corners so that you can do more important things or spend time with your kids even, that's a crazy idea. We've talked a lot about breastfeeding. Is there anything else with regards to food and just feeding in general, not even little kids, but your older kids, and when it comes to the decision, make what you buy, what you prepare yourself? Chris, I know you guys, you try to carry around your usable containers when you eat out, things like that. What kind of tips would you offer that are easy to implement or that you found kind of to be lifesavers?
When you're on vacation, no matter how much you plan, it is going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
To keep up with your sustainability in that. We just went to Florida a couple weeks ago, and we had the stuff available, and then our plan went out the window. Like it was.
Yeah, but we tried our best.
We tried our best.
Yeah,
and, but
for the most part, with the kids' food, we eat predominantly plant-based, and we have for since last September. So I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have been since my daughter was born. I feel very lucky that I've been able to do that.
We've been very lucky that way.
So I have time to do this. I do most of the cooking. I do most of the baking. So for kids' lunches, Planet Box is amazing.
Oh, Planet Box! I even have one for my work. Yes. I love it.
They are stainless steel lunch boxes. They're dishwasher safe. You just toss them in. They're a little bit expensive up front, but we've had Logan and Quinn's for 9 years. 9 years. And we haven't had to replace anything except for a little hinge and
which they sell replacement parts
and
for
they
them
sell
as
replacement
well.
Parts.
So if something does get dent or broken, or even the spring piece is broken, you can buy just that specific piece and they'll send that to you.
So that's fantastic. They also, I did a little research right before my daughter started. We have junior kindergarten up here, so that's right around when they're 4. And it was these stations of opening up different Tupperware containers while they were having their lunch. And what could they open, what could they not? And I thought, this is the dumbest thing. She's going to spend half her time trying to open up all these containers and not eat. So what the Planet Box does is they just open it up and it's all there for them. So there's no time spent trying to fiddle with little locks and turny things or whatever. Also, we have our children like lattes. So we have reusable cups that we take to coffee shops and stuff that we like to use. We have reusable straws. We try our best. Just for the past 2 Mondays, my daughter has had Glee and swim lessons really close together, too close to come back to have dinner to go to swim lessons. So I've packed dinner for us.
Usually it's soup in mason jars.
Soup in mason jars with our reusable cutlery and tea towels as napkins. And I have my totes. I use totes for grocery shopping and stuff. But food, our son doesn't like vegetables, but we feed him what he likes. And our kids are picky. Kids are not picky. Everybody's picky about something.
The other thing, too, is allergies, right? Like
allergies,
Allergies in our house aren't what are typically allergies. I'm allergic to red meat and pork. And our son is allergic to red meat.
And he's lactose intolerant.
So we are limited on what we can feed him and also myself. So I was halfway to being plant-based anyway because I didn't eat very much meat anyway. But it's you have to take those things into consideration too. So
yeah, because allergies, like especially if you have an anaphylaxis in your house, that's a whole nother demon to deal with. And we are thankful that we don't have to deal with that.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine trying to do sustainable living
with anaphylaxis. That would be so hard because the cross-contamination would just be too much for me to bear. Everything would have to be prepackaged. And at the Ontario, the schools are nut-free, so that includes peanuts and all tree nuts. So Unfortunately, a lot of the recipes that I find online all have almonds and crap in them, and I'm like, I can't make that.
Really tasty and like, yeah, let's eat that.
But they can't take it to school. Which is fine, and I'm fine doing that. But yeah, I find with picky eaters, you just gotta try and
okay, I was one of the pickiest eaters you'd ever meet when I was a kid and into adulthood.
He ate five different types of foods when we met.
Pretty much. Pizza, mac and cheese, like that's,
the food groups, basically.
Yes.
Normal food groups that anyone would eat.
Chips and that being said.
Cheese, yep.
Yeah.
Wait a second. That's like the American diet. What are you doing in Canada?
Right? Donuts.
Listen,
that's the fifth one.
Oh, when we were down in Texas,
it gets cold here. You need a lot of carbs.
You need a lot of carbs. You need to pack on some pounds. But as somebody that was a really picky eater, we come around, right? We figure it out, and our taste buds do change. You just got to be persistent and stick with it. Eventually, a picky eater will eat something else.
Yeah. So it comes around. Making a meal plan, if you have time.
Big helper.
Big, huge help. It also avoids a lot of food waste, because before I started meal planning, it was, okay, well, I'm going to buy this, we'll eat it. And then it would go bad and I'd have to throw it out. So meal planning's been really huge. Yeah. I try to cook. I enjoy cooking too. There's the other thing. I really like cooking. I like baking. So I constantly try to make as much as we can at home. But, things like birthdays, Christmas, going to other people's houses.
And listen, pizza comes in a cardboard box.
It does.
So it's recyclable.
Compostable, yeah.
Or compostable.
But the kids, we try to involve them as much as possible with the food. We have family favorites that happen every week, and the kids are not shy. They're like Todd, that they'll tell you what they don't like. Our son's a gay.
I don't like that. Yeah,
I think that's important to mention, that the food waste is a big part of sustainability, right? I mean, we waste. We had an episode about this a few months ago. I mean, untold amounts of food in the world, and if you can try to minimize that at your home and teach those habits to your children early, just teach them, don't buy more than you can eat. If you do end up having leftovers, try to make other things with them. Figure out creative ways, or freeze it. There's a lot of options, but I think especially in America, we're very bad about just buying and throwing everything that's
convenient. So for us, it's getting the kids comfortable in the kitchen, touching the appliances, using knives, cutting boards and stuff like that. I hated leftovers for years. It's only been in the last little bit that I've actually got on the leftover bandwagon.
See, and I love leftovers because I take them to lunch for the next day for work, right? So
but yeah, having the kids involved in the cooking process has been huge. And make a grocery list. Yes. Making your grocery list is huge too. Try not to go hungry, because you will buy the things.
All the things.
All the things when you're hungry.
And I think if you have a garden at your house, getting them involved in that too is a great way to get them to eat vegetables.
We are going to do that this year.
Yeah, we're looking at starting that this year, where we're going to actually, I bought some seeds last year, actually, 2 years ago. Anyway,
I don't remember.
They're long enough ago that they're probably growing in their
They haven't gotten wet, they should be fine.
Yeah, they should be fine.
But that's a big thing. A lot of kids don't like vegetables. They think they're icky. But if you expose them to the process, and they actually see them grow, and they're a part of making that happen, they get so excited, right? And they're just, oh my God, I pulled this out of the ground. I'm going to eat this, which is not everyone can do, obviously. But if you have that option, or there's a community garden you can even go to, it really brings kids a lot closer to nature.
And that helps. But I will say, though, kids go through phases. They will like one thing one day, and then tomorrow decide, you know what? No, that's disgusting. Logan, our daughter, went through a huge phase where she wouldn't eat anything green. Not because she didn't like it. She just didn't want anything green and would refuse to eat it. Our son used to eat vegetables, and then, I don't know, right around he turned 2.
He's like, no more vegetables.
So you kind of have to work with what your kid's giving you, because I'm not one of those parents that will be like, you have to eat everything on your plate or you get nothing.
Yeah. Teaches them to be obese. Yeah. So some of the best parenting advice that I got was, your kid will eat when they're hungry.
Yeah.
So what we do, we don't make separate meals. So even with my infant, we don't make her a separate meal.
Mm-hmm.
Once she could eat table food, you eat what we eat. And sometimes we spicy food. Sometimes we make, but she eats what we eat. And what it's done is it's developed her palate. Yeah. So now she's okay with eating a lot of food. Like, my husband likes to make a lot of Indian food. So we'll make some like tikka masala or something. And she loves it. One of the
which is great. Yeah.
And, but so we don't make separate meals, which eliminates your food waste, makes leftovers easier. It eliminates a lot of the problems. And especially like most recipes are for 4. So now I have a family of 4. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to eat it, you go to bed hungry, because guess what? When you wake up in the morning, you're going to eat what I put in front of you. And like that is one of the harder things to do, because it's like you constantly, as a parent, you worry about every decision that you make, but it's offered you healthy food options. You've chosen not to eat it. And now my kids are not old enough to really put up a fight yet. So I don't know what it's like to
see your resolve crumble.
That's
awesome.
That's
fantastic.
Yeah.
You're on the right track for that.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. But just really trying to enforce the healthy eating habits and the like, and also thinking about the way you talk about food in front of your kids and with leftovers and stuff, because they're listening to everything that you say. So if you say, oh, I don't really want to eat leftovers, or, oh, this tastes like the fridge, you're going to hear that later. So just being hyper conscious about, setting yourself up for success like that. I think one of the things with food that was the hardest for me was all of the requirements for school. Like, it is overwhelming, the amount of stuff that you come home with information wise from school. And I had grandparents that were taking care of my kids. So I didn't really know about that until my daughter started, going to like a pre-K program. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it has to be a container that they can open by themselves. Mm-hmm. It has to be this, it has to be that, it has to have their name on it. It has to have, so kind of one of the things that was the biggest trick for me is like, what is a reusable snack bag? Right. So they have all of these things on Amazon that are made out of plastic, and then you have to start doing all of the research on plastic. And finally, I read an article, and they made bags out of cotton. They just sewed them. Well, I love to sew, so I just sewed them. And then it's like, well, it's not waterproof, but it doesn't matter because most snacks are dry.
Yeah.
And then how do you wash it? I just throw it in the washing machine. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't have to go in the dishwasher. You put blueberries in it. Well, guess what? You dump the blueberries out and then you throw it in the washing machine.
Yes.
And so I embroidered their names on it to solve the name issue. Yeah. And then it can be reused forever. And
that gets easier, by the way. The older they get through school, they're less fussy about all that crap. It just seems like right off the bat, they want to overwhelm the crap right out of you.
And they want Ziploc bags. And if you don't do a Ziploc bag, they look at you like you're a crazy person. Like, my mom is so annoyed with me about all these little zippy those bags right there. Yeah. The one thing I'll say is there's no way to do a sustainable zipper. Like,
no, there's not, unless you reclaim them, and that's so hard to find. So that's sort of.
If you have like a pair of pants that you're going to upcycle or something, you could do the zipper, but otherwise zippers are hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and they don't have to be waterproof, like you said. It can just be cloth. They're only going to keep it in there for a few hours, and they're going to eat it.
Right.
And wash it.
And it can go in. Yeah.
And then they're washing
a bunch of those. I just spent like a Saturday. I made like 20 bags, and it was, it cost me nothing. Used fabric that was scraps from other stuff. I mean, I guess it cost me the zippers, but
they're not that expensive.
You can sometimes find those at thrift shops too. So.
I was going to say, if you're not handy, there is somebody around you that knows someone that's making them, or you can go to a local, like a farmer's market. I guarantee you somebody there has made them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or would make them if you asked.
Yes. Or
make them if you asked. Exactly.
What do you guys think about these meal subscriptions that have become really popular? I know they're very convenient, but how are they waste-wise, both with the food and the packaging? Have you guys tried them? What's your opinion on those? Are they really helpful?
We've never done that. I've heard there's a lady on Instagram. She's based out of Toronto. So Toronto's the biggest city in Canada. So it sort of has the population to support this. There is a zero waste food, meal subscription there, which is fantastic. Everything comes in glass jars. You can return them. You can keep them, whatever, but it's plant-based as far as I know. There's nothing like that up here. Meal subscriptions come in those hermevac sealed plastic stuff and
basically
plastic containers and We would never do it. It would never work. I don't think for us.
No, I'm all for it if you can't find the time to make your own meals and you can't find the time to do that. Absolutely look into them, see how sustainable they are. But we set up our life because we were able to allow one of us to stay at home or at least be available to make those meals. And even when Chris was working for a little bit, we would set up Sundays in order to do our cook days, and that would be our main day that we did our cooking, and then you'd have those meals throughout the week. That didn't last very long, but
it didn't last long.
but it was something that we tried out, right?
Yeah.
So again, if that is something that works for you, great. But
I think they are working on it.
Yes.
So I think that they are really working on it. We have done, so my husband, whenever we got married, knew how to make tacos.
Tacos
and
are
that's it. Yeah. And tacos are great, but the only meal he knew how to make, and it was a very big deal. So, so for us, the meal subscription was a great way for him to learn how to cook. Because otherwise it was never really going to be a part of our routine unless I was doing it. And first kid, I still was able to cook quite a bit. Second kid, one of you is childcare, the other person's cooking.
Yep.
And I think as far as stress levels are concerned for my husband, it just fell naturally that like cooking is cathartic, and that helps him decompress at the end of the day. Whereas hanging with two kids under the age of 3 is not. So
really?
We would take turns when they were younger.
Yeah. Taking turns is huge.
Yeah, taking turns is a big deal. And so we did Blue Apron, and Blue Apron was great. They are making strides. So you can see that they're like, this is how you recycle the different parts of the box. So the box itself is recyclable. Obviously it's cardboard. It's not the best. It's also not the worst. But even the ice stuff that they have to do it can be like poured down the drain, and they're using non-harsh chemicals, and then you can recycle the bags. And so they are taking steps to be conscious about the amount of stuff that's in it. Yeah. For us, it was nice because all of the amount of food. So you think about, you're going to buy like a thing of sour cream, for example, you may use 2 tablespoons of the sour cream. Well, the food subscription box is only sending you the 2 tablespoons. So if you have more plastic waste, you have less food waste.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, something to measure. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah. Whatever your circumstance is, if that's what you need to do, then do it. Because having 2 toddlers, you were in the middle of the goat show.
Oh, listen, grocery shopping alone with 2 little ones.
It was nuts. So whatever you can do, do it.
And we use a meal planning app. So we have a meal planning app, and you store all of your recipes, and it tells you how much of everything to buy. So I think that's the number one thing. And then we do, we'll go through periods with doing a subscription box. We'll be like, okay, for, 3 months, we're going to do it. And then we'll turn it off for a while, just to kind of build in that forgiveness of, hey, we didn't have time to go grocery shopping. We've got our subscription box that we can make.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
However you do
for a little bit. Freshly was a little bit interesting because it was already cooked. You didn't have to actually cook anything, and it was fresh. It wasn't frozen. So I did that for a week just to try it. And they were actually pretty decent, taste wise. I wasn't super disappointed with it. So that's an option too if you just don't have time to cook for a certain week, something major is going on. Those are options as well. You don't have to spend the time cooking and cleaning up your mess afterwards. And the plastic was all recyclable and everything was good to go. But I only did it the one time just to try it, but that's an option too.
Absolutely. I think however you plan your meals, as we've already said a few times, do what works best for your lifestyle. But regardless, eating at home is probably going to be the cheaper option, the least waste option, and a lot of times more convenient, although sometimes eating out is more convenient or getting carry out. But again, think about what works for you. We're giving you some options. And is there anything else y'all want to add on the topic of food or meals or anything?
Teach your kids how to cook.
Yes.
Teach your children how to cook. Get them involved.
My kids love to help,
which is awesome. And but let them, because as
so
parents,
hard to let them.
It's excruciating sometimes to just be like, oh God, no, I'm gonna do it. You're gonna do it. Oh.
If you
the mess
that are on the floor, we start over.
Just everything. You're like, no, this is not fun for me.
Pick a day that you can clean up and you can take as long as you want to do it. Because like do a breakfast or something like that where you have the rest of the day, with a nice chill Sunday, something like that. That way, when there's eggs all through, like eggshells through the meal, you have time to siphon them through, you know.
Yes, but pick a recipe that you don't mind gets foobarred.
Oh yeah. No,
like muffins. Muffins are good.
Muffins are pretty good.
Yeah.
Pancakes you could probably get away with.
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, definitely teach your kids how to cook, and you can start it young. I mean, our that was the biggest things when I moved out. I didn't know how to cook. I needed to make toast and spaghetti. The spaghetti was literally noodles and a jar of sauce. That was my spaghetti.
We had to call her mom. And
I'm like, how do you boil potatoes?
I want to make mashed potatoes.
I don't know how to make mashed potatoes. So teaching your children how to cook and just being able to be self-sufficient that way. Yeah. Like our kids know how to make grilled cheese, which again, it's not very
pretty
gourmet,
basic, but
grilled cheese.
Logan does her own fried egg sandwiches now.
And then just getting them used to pulling things in and out of the oven so they're not afraid of it, and then they're more enthusiastic to want to learn how to new things.
Well, she helped me with the lo mein.
We had lo mein that she loves, so she knows how to make it now. But so that when they're older, they're more comfortable in the kitchen making their own things and maybe a little less reliant on convenience foods.
Do you guys also involve your kids in the meal planning?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Especially since going plant-based.
Yes. Yeah. And there was one meal that in particular, Logan and I were looking at each other like, this is going to taste horrible, but okay, we'll try it. And it's cauliflower sandwiches. And I swear, Chris said, hey, let's try these cauliflower sandwiches. And I'm looking at her like,
that looks disgusting.
That looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
And Logan looked at me and she's like, that looks pretty bad. I'm like, yeah, but we'll try it. It's now one of our favorite things, and we have to have it once a week.
Yes.
I made a roasted cauliflower with turkey at Thanksgiving, and it was incredible.
It's no joke. Cauliflower is amazing.
Sneaky cauliflower wings, like you can do like a cauliflower chicken wing instead. Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah. So if you love chicken wings and you want to try something a little different, go with the cauliflower.
Cut down your meat consumption. Cauliflower. Mm-hmm.
I love how we started with poop and
tastes
now
like
we're
chicken
back at the beginning. Like
we're not done with poop yet. It'll come back.
Oh, we'll talk about poop again.
It'll come around.
We've gone full circle.
Yeah.
Well, might as well mention now sickness when the kids are sick. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. When the kids are sick, their palate just goes to crap. They don't want to eat. It's like when you're sick. They want comfort foods. They want toast. They want
popsicles. They want, and you may not have your juice frozen all ready to go. So you might have to go to the store and get some.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Pedialyte, if they're, the
Pedialyte,
which we've had to do a couple of times. The kids are just so sick. You have to do the Pedialyte. When they're sick, everything's off the table. You can try as much as you want, but whatever makes them feel better and gets them through whatever they're going through, especially if it's like a gastro thing. With a fever.
Yeah. Sorry, that was.
You want to eat a rock? I'll make you a rock.
Well, are there any treatments?
Pardon?
Are there any treatments or things that you guys have found do work on minor injuries, or whether it's salves or tinctures or just more natural remedies? I know you can't use that for everything, but
so one thing for sorry. That sounded loud.
The demon.
Yeah. One thing so my mom's a nurse, and one thing that she taught me was wash the wound, and if it's not that deep and it doesn't look like really red or sore around it, it's probably not infected, and let the air at it and your skin will do what it needs to do. That was something that I learned as a kid, and I have a couple scars, but it worked out for me.
Yes. Yeah. And it's assessing the situation. Like scraped knees, more often than not, you just need a good wash. They're fine. They're going to scream bloody murder like their legs falling off, but they're fine. And the head bleeds more than anything else, so it may look huge and massive, but you clean them up, they're fine. Yeah, lots of blood. All the blood, the pus, whatever.
Can I tell the story?
What story?
The one where you called me?
Oh, God, yeah. I didn't handle this well. Preface that. I did not handle this very well. It was that. Okay.
I was at work, and my lovely wife left me a voicemail while I was at work. So at my lunchtime, I was able to check my messages, and so I check my voicemail, and I hear this panicked woman that I've never heard before. Oh my God, babe. Oh my God, there's so much blood. Quinn fell, and oh my God, we're going to the hospital.
And then it
hung up, and that's the message. I'm like, oh my God, who's dying? Who fell?
Oh, no.
So I had to run over to my boss, tell her I'm leaving. I'm going to, I think, Southampton.
I also didn't say what hospital I was going to.
I think that's the closest one she would have been at. So I'm now tearing it, and thankfully no cops caught me. And I get to the hospital, and sure enough, there's Chris and her friends sitting outside, and my son with a great big grin on his face, and just blood everywhere.
But the thing, okay, so wounds not needing anything. What had happened is that he was 3.5. He's got a scar now. He's got a gorgeous, storytelling scar. He was playing with some kids. Quinn is atypical. So especially when he was younger, he got beat up and bullied a lot because a lot of younger kids didn't understand him. So he kind of was.
He thought he was playing, and they didn't realize.
And they didn't realize that, and he couldn't really communicate. So he got pushed into the corner of a wooden deck. And it hit him right, that little funny divot thing in between your nose and your lip. So it hit him right there and his nose. So the face bleeding as much as it does, and the shrill scream, I thought he'd broken his nose. And what wound up happening is that he almost split it right through, and he didn't break his nose, but he had a decent bruise, and he still got a scar from it. But it didn't need stitches. It didn't need any other wound care other than keeping it clean and letting the air get at it. So we didn't need a bandage or anything like that. But I didn't handle it well, but he was fine. He's got a scar.
That being said, though, I didn't handle it well at all.
He's fine. He's okay. He's 11 now. He survived. But yeah, if your kids, if they need stitches, if there's wound care that's needed, then obviously do it. Same with medication. I've seen some zero wasters promote some ridiculous things about bandages and
not accepting
and not taking because it came in plastic and packaging and those little blister packs, and it's like, take your freaking meds.
Yes,
do it.
Don't be the hero.
Don't be the hero because you were trying some natural.
While we're on the subject, vaccinate your children.
Yes, please.
Yes, okay.
Like, vaccinate your children.
Get the shots.
Yes.
Vaccines save lives. You are exposing children and people with compromised immune systems to those germs. Even if your kid has an immunity, you can endanger the lives of many other people, cancer patients, older people, younger kids that don't have immune systems. So
transplant
it's
patients.
Very important that you vaccinate. Yeah. Like not everyone can get the vaccines. So they are depending on the people that are able to have them so they don't expose and kill other people.
Yes.
I just want to add on to that. Sorry. Please. I understand there's naturopaths out there, and I understand that they have some great advice. If your child has a fever, if your child has a high fever, like something that's dangerous, please take them to the doctor.
For those that are new parents.
If you're over 104, get them to the hospital.
Or even if it's 102 and they're listless and they're drowsy and they're not themselves, take them to the hospital.
Get them to the hospital.
Because little kids get sick quick.
And it's amazing how quick they can get into some dangerous territory. And they would be absolutely fine in looking at you, and all of a sudden they're like passed out because they're tired is what it looks like, but they're actually going into a shock potentially. So it can be scary. Go to the hospital. The doctors will never be angry at you because you came in because you had a potential sick child.
No, they want you.
They would always prefer you come in than that you wait too long.
Yes, then you wait too long, and that's when you hear on the news that some person left it too long, and they were doing the best that they thought too for their child.
Absolutely. That being said,
don't be here to take your kid to the hospital.
Yes.
Even if, like, I've taken the kids when I knew that there was nothing that they could do, the hospital.
Just wanted to confirm.
I just wanted to make sure that they were going to be okay. So even that peace of mind is important. And there was waste involved. I mean, they had to change the sheets on the gurney, the processing paper, all that, their little plastic wristband that they had to have at the hospital. If you have, well, here in Canada, we have universal healthcare. So it doesn't cost anything to go to the emergency room to just get it checked out. And if you can, in the United States, if you have an insurance program that'll let you do that, then go take them.
Just to kind of
I think this is an important point.
One of the things we do is we always keep some aloe vera plants around.
Mm-hmm.
And you can propagate your aloe vera so you can kind of make new plants off of your old ones. And whenever we have, a skinned knee, aloe works great on, also a burn. I let my daughter cook in the kitchen with us. She's only 3. So that means that occasionally we accidentally touch a hot pan. It's how you learn. But we always keep an aloe vera plant around. And the other thing that works great if you are making the choice to breastfeed is breast milk solves everything.
Yes, my sister-in-law did it for an eye thingy on her baby when
it gets rid of the styes at your eye. You can put it on a burn. You can put it. One time with my daughter, I had some leftover milk after she had been weaned, and she got sick. She got a stomach bug. I quit giving her other food because she had uncontrollable poops.
Yeah.
And so I gave her some breast milk. Stopped it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It's
not magic stuff.
Did you put some on Jared when he had a sunburn at one point, and it?
Yeah, we did. We
went away.
Cure a sunburn. It made it go away. So I just, if you are in the position where you have some around, you can keep it. One of the things that I've actually wanted to try this time, I haven't yet, is having some of my leftover breast milk made into soap, because I wonder if you had it made into soap. Just people at the farmer's market make soap out of milk. Why not use my breast milk?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I wonder if that would have it be the same healing powers.
Never even thought of it.
No, that's kind of cool.
So I'll let you know.
You just came up with a new business strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have a cow, but
I was gonna say, you got to have a pregnant woman a lot.
Yeah, wet nurse who's willing to keep that continuous supply going. But
yeah, I remember watching a documentary about, why don't we drink breast milk? Like, why don't humans just drink breast milk all the time? Well, because it means we got to keep women pregnant all the time. And
that's
more nursing. Yeah, I think these are all great ideas, and I would definitely echo what Chris and Ray said. We do encourage sustainable, all natural remedies for things, but at the end of the day, science trumps everything if it comes down to the health of your child or even yourself. So definitely, talk to a medical doctor. We're not endorsing bypassing that route. We're encouraging you to get professional medical help if you need it for things, but there are some smaller things that you can self-treat or maybe not, over-medicate or things like that. So anything else on this subject before we move on?
I've used activated charcoal for stomach issues in the past, so that might be an option too.
Yeah, it's pretty readily available.
So that's coming out popular for a lot of things, like for toothpaste and all sorts of stuff. Awesome. Let's see. I had a few more things that I wanted to touch on real quick. Clothing. Is there... I know that there's a big movement now to buy more ethically sourced, sustainable clothing. And Lenna, you said that you sew. So what is y'all's experience with this? And obviously buying used is an option. What are your suggestions for sustainable clothing or affordable clothing, things like that?
Let the
kids grow fast. They grow out of things fast.
Yeah. So I think for me, the biggest thing, we did it kind of on accident because we didn't reveal the gender of our first kid, but get everything gender neutral, because then no matter what subsequent children you have, it can be reused. And obviously they get to an age where you can't necessarily do that, but as much as you can, we do gender neutral. We do hand-me-downs. So my cousin, who is also pretty savvy with the environmental care, has 2 daughters. So I get approximately half of my clothing from her. The other thing that we've done in my household is we've been trying to switch to capsule wardrobes. which are seasonal minimalist wardrobes where you have around 30 items in your closet, including shoes. Not really as feasible for children as adults. Like you have to have more than 30. You know, as an adult, I haven't had any troubles at 30, but for the kids, because you have to have a change of clothes in the backpack, and spit up and throw up and poop. We go through a little bit more than that. But I think remembering that less is more. The closet doesn't have to be full. You know, that's helped eliminate a lot. And so with my, you know, I saved 100% of my clothes from my first daughter. So when my second daughter aged into them, I just did an inventory of like, what is still in good shape? What has stains on it? I didn't have to buy any new clothes for her. So we 100% are getting a second round out of that. But yeah, so those are kind of some things you can do if you don't have the money to necessarily pay for sustainable clothing. But we also, whenever I do have to buy something, I try to buy from a sustainable source. And there are lots of them now. Like there are a lot of companies out there that are paying attention to organic fabrics and things like that.
Yeah. And what are some of your favorites that you would recommend to folks?
I love Hannah Anderson. They use all organic. It is all cotton, which cotton is kind of bad no matter what you do. As far as the environment is concerned, but they have lots of options for seasons and like swimsuits. So it's like, well, you may find a place where you can get pants and shirts, which is great, but they don't make swimsuits or they don't make jeans or they don't make dresses. So it's kind of a nice place where you can get everything. And it doesn't all look the same. A lot of the places too will be like, well, I make these really great organic pants, but every single pair of pants will look the same. So
awesome. Chris and Ray, you have anything to add? Or
hand-me-downs are king. His older sister has one of each as well, and they're older. Her daughter's like almost 17 now, and then her son's 13. So,
and they work great up until a certain age.
Yes, hand-me-downs. Work up until a certain age. But like my daughter and her daughter have very different styles, and they're completely different body shapes. So hand-me-downs for that doesn't work, but our two boys, it works great. Like most of Quinn's wardrobe they're all hand-me-downs from his older cousin. And then what Quinn grows out of, I give to my sister because she's got 3 boys. And 2 of them are the same size right now. So that's great for her because then it's used even more. But hand-me-downs are amazing.
Yep. There's a store up here called The Patch, which is a secondhand store that which is great as well. Finding sizes can be a pain.
Yeah, you have to be a little bit patient. Like in our kids, we've never dictated their wardrobe until they were unless they were babies, but we tried to dress them as gender neutral as possible. We did a little bit of what Lenna was doing. We are very persistent about our daughter not being a girly girl in terms of she needed to wear frilly dresses all the time. She actually had a shirt for a little while that said, "I don't do pink," in like punk lettering. Nice. So she didn't wear dresses. And so we had a few pieces that were gender neutral enough that our son wore them too, like snowsuits. We were pretty persistent that they be like one specific color, so both of them could wear them. Blues, blacks, gray.
Snowsuits, things that we totally use in Texas.
Yes, I forgot about the amount of snowsuits.
The amount of snow you get. So the things like, because we have 4 seasons, a capsule wardrobe, we are trying, like, we live in a small home, so it's basically you run out of coat hangers, you have too many clothes, we need to get rid of, like, you have an allotted set of coat hangers, that's it. And so for us, we've always let our kids pick out their own clothes and dress themselves since they were really little. So that's carried over, and we've let them, like, I can't buy clothes without my daughter there for her. I can't, because what I think she'd like, she's like, no, that's terrible. So secondhand shopping with her, taking her to these secondhand stores, showing her sustainable brands. I'm slowly getting into the sustainable brands because the sustainable brands are very expensive, and when you don't have the budget for that, it's a real turnoff.
The other part too is sustainable brands are great, but shipping them out to where you live, there's a cost to that too. Not just cost, but the environmental part, the impact of shipping it.
So you have to like weigh what needs more. yeah, so having them, and now that they're older, having them realize that there's other options than fast fashion, and there's no shame in wearing secondhand clothes, and you can find some really great stuff. And yeah, that's been the biggest one, is the secondhand clothing. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing.
Did you talk about your shoes?
Oh, I bought shoes. My first sustainable pair of shoes ever. They're from a BC company that's called Native, and they're made out of recycled. You're gonna go get them. They're made out of recycled plastic, and they're vegan. And wash.
And I think Tom's has recently come out with a vegan line of shoes too.
What? Pardon? Which one?
Tom's.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get a Canadian company.
My friend was telling me about Rothy's.
And they're really lightweight.
I haven't
Cute.
looked at them. They're really cute.
Yeah. So just trying to slowly get into the sustainable part of it. And kids grow so fast. And you know, that the $60 dress looks super cute on them, but they're going to grow to that in 3 seconds, and that's it. And you don't get to enjoy it. So hand-me-downs are pretty fantastic for that, especially when they're little and they're going through growth spurts. And then our daughter, she's taller than me now, but when she was it started when she was 10 to 12, and she had grown almost, over half a foot in that amount of time. So she's
a tall lady.
She's 5'7" right now. So she just, grew like a weed. And my nephew did the same thing. He plays hockey. So his mom had to buy, in one season, she had to buy him 2 pairs of skates because he just grew, and the hockey equipment had to go too. And so
now I know not everybody plays hockey down where you guys are.
But even with football,
but with football and stuff like that, since we're on the topic of clothing, you can get kids gear used from other parents around the area, right?
Oh, yeah.
There are lots of options. We actually there's a trade program up here that if you trade your child's old equipment in, and if it's still in good condition, you get the other stuff for free back. So that huge investment isn't going to be there, which is good. And then all the stuff gets reused as well.
Yeah, so. But sports equipment is huge, especially with kids, because they grow out of it so fast, and a lot of it only gets used for one season. It's still really good. So if your kids are into soccer or football or hockey, anything that requires equipment, there's always some secondhand. You just have to sort of hunt down and ask for it and see if anybody's. And sometimes people don't remember they have, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I got this in my closet." The kids haven't worn it in a while. But we'll say though, helmets do have an expiration date.
Yes.
So do car seats.
Yes, and car seats too. Yes, and it's, I think, illegal,
especially if they've been impacted.
Pardon?
I said especially if they've been in an impact, situation.
Yeah, so check expiration dates for those things. But things like cleats and shin pads, they don't expire. It's just based on what size your kid is.
Yeah, real quick, Chris, you mentioned fast fashion. And for our listeners who may know what that is, that's something that's getting a lot of attention these days. And fast fashion is basically this really cheap clothing that you can buy at, big box stores, Walmart's, Forever 21, all those stores, and you're cheap. They're very seasonal and dependent on the trends, but they are very wasteful because, for one thing, they're low quality. So people will wear them a few times, get rid of them, or if they go out of style, they get rid of them. They're also often produced unsustainably, or in sweatshops, or in conditions that are just not great for the workers. And so there's been a big push to abandon fast fashion as consumers. And so when you hear that term, that's what they're referring to. And we could probably do a whole show about that. But definitely cutting back on that for you and your kids is going to make a huge impact. And hopefully as consumers, we'll send that message that we, want more sustainable clothing, and you can buy used for a lot cheaper and a lot better quality. So,
And just one thing, it's just a personal parenting preference. But I feel that if you let your kids pick out their clothes and develop their own style when they're really young, the pressure to look trendy and the pressure to fit in is kind of less, because they already know what they like. Like our kids are not what you would call trendy dressers, but they love what they wear, and they wear it a lot till they grow out of it, or they put holes in the knees and I can't fix it anymore. So just having them develop their own sense of style. And I have pictures of Logan wearing about 18 different layers with 18 different patterns. She was rocking it. She was about 4. It was amazing. And my son wearing shorts over pants is fantastic because that's what he wanted to wear. And, but it just helps them develop their own sense of style so that it's not as important to keep up with those 52 weeks of
giving them an identity. Yeah.
So they have their own identity. So they're not so hung up with keeping up with all the trends of fast fashion.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure Chris will laugh at me, but I'm actually trying to prevent my children from developing a culture of consumerism. And I don't know how you do that when I have 2 girls. Yeah. So I actually have never taken either of my daughters into a clothing store to look at stuff for myself or to look at stuff for them. Clothes just magically show up at our house. And I give them complete freedom to buy within to pick out what they wear within what I buy.
Yeah.
But I know that will expire as they become teenagers because they'll have thoughts and ideas, about what they want to do. But I'm going to try to ride it as long as I can. But it prevents waste too, because teenagers probably change their mind 100 times.
They tend to. Yeah.
And so my daughter hasn't discovered the store yet. She hasn't discovered so avoiding the princess stuff. She hasn't discovered I can go get a Princess Elsa shirt. At the store. She just doesn't know that they exist. So I'm also not having to tell her, no, you can't have this thing for all of the reasons.
Yeah. Which is a hard thing to do. I mean, I have a mother who's very rebellious, and she probably would have
She did. She put Logan in whatever she wanted.
She did put Logan in a dress, and Logan cried. It was amazing. I have a picture of it. It was beautiful. She tried so hard to put her in a dress, and Logan just sobbed.
I don't want to wear a dress.
It was just amazing. Like, see, Mom, she doesn't like the dress. But yeah, it's just fashion's hard, especially now because she's also starting to wear makeup. So what kind of makeup do I buy for her? And I want her to be able to express herself that way. She's a very creative kid. So I don't wear makeup, and I never did because I just never learned how to do it. So what kind
and I didn't like it.
And
you don't need it anyway.
So what kind of makeup do I buy?
You're beautiful.
Yeah, he's got nice skin.
Thanks.
So what kind of makeup do I buy her? Because, it's important to her and she wants to wear it. She does it because it makes her feel good, not like she's trying to put out this image of flawless skin or anything. She just likes doing it. Yeah. So that's been a journey too about how
Is it Burt's Bees?
Burt's Bees, there you have plastic stuff, but we've been doing the Body Shop, and then there's a Canadian company called Elate, and they're a zero waste natural makeup company. They are pricey though. So we're going to start, once she gets a summer job, maybe
you can make your own. That might be a fun
I don't want to.
I don't know.
That's the other thing too.
Or not.
DIYing everything I was like, when we first got into zero waste, I was big on DIYing everything. It was stupid. And I had to let a lot of that go because it was like, I don't really actually want to do this. Some of it stuck and some of it didn't. So
yeah,
that's the other thing too. You don't have to DIY absolutely everything, like the baby food and the bum cream and this. You can if you want to, if it brings you joy. Yeah. You have time, you can do it. But if you don't beat yourself up over it. Other people make it, and you can support their endeavors and their business too.
Mm-hmm. Farmers markets are great for that.
Oh yes, they are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been trying to go through everything I use as I use it up and think, could I make this easily and affordably in time, in a sensible amount of time, or should I just go buy more? Because that's a hard decision you have to make when you're trying to reduce your waste, and even without kids. It's overwhelming to think, house cleaners, face wash, laundry detergents. I mean, the list gets really big when you really start looking at it. So,
yeah. So some things got to go, right?
You can choose.
Yes, you have to pick and choose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Real quick, Lenna mentioned that car seats have an expiration date, and most parents, I think, know this, that you can only use them for so many years, and then they're not as effective. But Target actually will take them back, recycle them, and give you a 20% off coupon on another purchase if you need. Cool. So that's something I found out recently for those that want to dispose of them
That's
sustainably.
Great.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have something similar up there in Canada, but at least
you'd have to look into it. Probably a Canadian Tire or Walmart up here might. You'd have to take a look at it.
Yeah. I'm sure it exists though. We just
somewhere
have been out of car seats for
a long time.
We don't.
But used car seats, don't not use them because they're made of plastic or, they produce waste. Use them. They're important. So,
yes, please use them. Yes.
All right. So anything else you guys want to throw out there before we move on to our Green Life hack?
One, if I could, is these little guys, family pets, they can produce their own waste. And I'm not just talking about poop. Toys. The toys that we get him, we tried so hard to get some that were not that didn't have packaging.
Plastic.
We actually found some that were
leather.
They were all leather, and
they
only
dried coconut husk.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they still had a plastic squeaker in there for some reason, but at least it was it was all leather, so the dog was able to enjoy the toy. I didn't feel bad about him chewing through it as much. But then they discontinued it, and so we were back to the other choices of toys, which are plastic crap.
He likes to chew and destroy things. Yeah. Just his toys, though. But yeah.
Just his toys, thankfully. So.
Yeah. I'm sure we could do a whole episode on sustainable pets. And
I just thought it would be something to put in here because it's family pets.
And he's our baby.
He is the baby.
He's the baby.
Jen, do you have any suggestions or experience with this since you do have dogs?
I just found like these, I guess they're made out of cotton. They're just tightly bound like rope toys, and they seem to last a lot longer. But yeah, he just tears through it eventually. And as far as the cat, she's a minimalist. You can hear her now. She's talking to you.
Needs her litter box.
Yeah. Yeah, just the litter. I think the litter is the biggest thing. Some people can teach their pets to pee in the toilet. I need to do that.
Yeah, good on you.
I have a friend who has their cat go out the dog door and pee outside and do their business.
Here she is.
So their yard is their litter box. I don't know.
Yeah, my cat is a hybrid indoor-outdoor cat, so he will actually beg at the back door to go outside.
Oh, wow.
That's funny.
Hi, cat. Speaking of.
He's like, wants to be a part of the party.
That's awesome.
Oh, he's cute.
Yeah, that's a great point. Pets are part of the family, and when you're thinking about, lowering your impact, think about them as well. And sometimes even the food you buy pets can be in ridiculous packaging and individual bags or cans or whatever. So looking at, if you have the option to choose, maybe pick the one with more sustainable packaging or recyclable at least.
Or just
they've even started. Don't they make like organic, non-GMO, like like for animals now, the most ridiculous.
They do.
I don't know.
Crunchy raw dog food. I think it's expensive though.
Yeah, and I've also heard of people just what they'll do is they'll barbecue a chicken or something like that, and they'll just make sure that they make a plain breast for their dog later, or
and that's
expensive.
What we do is we use our dog to kind of eliminate our food waste. So if we make a meal and it's a couple days in the fridge and we're not necessarily going to finish it, because we eat pretty healthy, we eat meat, but we are largely plant-based. If we're going to have a side, it's usually something like rice. And so, it's when I look at the food, I'm like, there's nothing in here that's unhealthy for my dog because it's that I was okay eating. So we'll often give her some of that to kind of supplement her food, and that helps.
They lick up the crumbs off the floor. It's also good little cleaners.
Ginger loves the baby because
back.
we feed her constantly.
So. Oh yes, our old dog Gracie. She was around when the kids were little, and
they
were best friends.
It was oh
god.
She would give them a pre-wash before they have a bath.
On the mouth.
It's a good way to save on paper towels or wipes, right?
Yes.
Also boost their immune system.
Big boost to the immune system.
Yep.
Well, the only other thing I want to bring up is a suggested reading for folks who, whether or not you have kids, it's a great book called Last Child in the Woods. I think we've talked about this on the show a couple times. Mm-hmm. It's a book by Richard Louv, and he essentially talks about nature deficiency disorder and getting your vitamin N or, nature, and basically the benefits of exposing children to the outdoors and to unstructured play and just giving them the chance to explore, because not only does it, help them develop self-esteem, it also helps with their creativity, and it helps them, just learn things that they wouldn't learn if they had someone hovering over them. So if you have that opportunity to offer that to your kids, I know living situations are different. If you live in a busy city, that may not be as much of an option, but getting your kids outdoors, taking them to the park or on walks and hikes, and the more you can get your kids outside, the more they'll develop an appreciation for nature and be more likely to want to preserve our natural environment and our world. So check that book out, Last Child in the Woods. Anything y'all want to add to that or anything else for the show?
Just again, I'm going to stress it again. If you're struggling with something because of the guilt of not being sustainable or something like that, don't beat yourself up too much about it. There's something else that you can do to lessen the impact somewhere else, right? So, don't.
It's hard enough being a parent.
Yeah, don't beat yourself.
Just keeping them alive is hard enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys mentioned that there are a lot of influencers and bloggers out there that kind of shame and guilt trip people, but who are some people that you follow that you would recommend to listeners to check out, whether it's podcasters, bloggers, YouTubers, Instagrammers, stuff like that?
I'm only on Instagram, but there's one that I really like. Her name is Your Eco Friend. Her name is Sophie. She's out of Toronto. She's got she has a little daughter, and she's just really carefree with it and just kind of puts it. She's very transparent with the way they eat. She was actually on CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting network up here, and she actually swapped lives with a regular family in terms of consuming and had to buy plastic and all that stuff. So that was documented. It was really interesting. She's a great resource. And then another one she doesn't have any children, but she just sort of gives you really great reminders to be gentle to yourself. Her name's Andrea Sanders. She goes by Be Zero Waste Girl. And she has chosen not to have children for personal and environmental reasons. She just has chosen not to. She's 38 or 39. But she just, reminds you, like, it's okay. We live in a society that zero waste is not possible. So take it easy, just do what you can do, be mindful, be present. And those are nice reminders when you're sort of, mindlessly scrolling through social media, feeling like a dirtbag because you had to buy your daughter an orthotic plastic toothbrush thingy because it cleans her braces and she needed the little flossy things. And she'll let you know the world's not set up as a circular economy. Give yourself a break. It's okay. You're doing all right.
Yeah.
I really like a website called the Good Trade? I believe it's the Good Trade. And it just has a lot of resources about fair trade, shoes, clothing, baby bottles, stuff like that you can do. And it covers everything. It's not just for families. So
the Good Trade, is that what you said?
Yeah, the Good Trade.
And we'll link all of these on our website, epicallygeeky.com/sustainably-geeky. So if you want to go back and look, we'll have all that posted for you as well. All the things we've mentioned throughout the show. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our green life hacks. So this is where we talk about an item or a practice or something that we've discovered or we've been using that's just great, life-changing, and helps us live more sustainably. Who would like to go first? Any volunteers?
I'll go.
She's going to go for me too.
Yeah,
because I didn't know how to do this.
Come on, Ray.
These are.
Okay. You guys are like super adorable.
I know, aren't they gross? They're so gross.
Sorry.
I have to see this on 2 other podcasts. It's like.
And then she's coming over to our house this summer. Forget it. She's going to get like real life experience with how we interact with each other.
I'm going to be like barfing outside.
Gross.
No, I love it.
So this is Ray's lunch kit. This is Planet Box.
That's my contribution.
Yeah.
So the kids are dirty right now. I have to wash them. So these are washable. I think they have a program where you can return them. But they have 3 different styles of lunchbox. This is Ray's. It's stainless steel. And then, so it's got this really handy dandy latch. And you just open it up and there's all your food. So got 3 compartments. The kids have 4.
I'm full when I eat that. Like, yes. It doesn't look like it's a what?
Microwave safe.
So they come with,
yeah.
And then, so this website is customized for whatever box you've bought. So this is the one for the big slot. It's glass and it's got a silicone top on it. So you can store whatever you want in there. And then they got these little dippers. So this is stainless steel silicone top. So you can throw everything in the dishwasher. We don't have one, but you can throw it in the dishwasher. I do believe this is microwave safe.
Yep. Tested.
Yeah, but they're a little upfront cost. I think it's $50 American, but we've had Logan and Quinn's for 9 years now, and they're like indestructible.
And this is the part that we were talking about.
Yeah, we had to replace that part.
It's literally just a piece that you can take off, and then you replace it.
And then it's good to go. But we love them. The kids love them. They were really great when they were little because they just had to do the latch, open it up, and all their food was there. And they come with ice packs, forks and a reusable cutlery set, magnets to make it fun. We don't do magnets anymore. Planet Box. They're great. They're based out of California. So we've been using them, for 9 years now, and it's really worth the investment.
I like that it's metal around the glass because a lot of times you worry about bringing glass because it could break, obviously. Yeah. So that protects it.
Yeah. They're very, very sturdy. They've survived the kids, and that's a good test.
That's a hell of a test.
Especially with our daughter. She's rough on everything.
And when I ordered mine, we told the kids that we would order them new exterior cases as well.
Yeah.
So their original ones lasted, 7 years? 7 years,
yeah.
So that's... Yeah. And the only reason why they didn't last longer is because the kids were really hard on them.
You don't think they are, but they are.
That could be your dog's next chew toy when they wear out.
Yeah. Not sure that's good for his digestive system, but that's okay.
Probably not. Awesome. Jen, what do you have for us this week or this month?
So this is a little bit one of those like don't feel guilty about like doing things for certain reasons. So for me, because I'm learning about emerging contaminants that the EPA is putting out for health concerns, there's something new called PFAS. It's polyfluorinated compounds that are basically just chemicals that have been fluorinated, which just happen to be in your dental floss. Mm-hmm. So I researched as best I could for dental floss that did not have PFAS in it, and I found this. But it has like the natural, I guess, beeswax on it so that it can like glide through your teeth instead of like the Glide floss.
And can you tell what it is for the folks that aren't watching?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is so I was comparing Glide tooth floss. Yeah, teeth floss. 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 With Tom's brand, it's just the naturally waxed brand of floss. My only complaint about it is that like you have to use a lot of it because it kind of deteriorates after multiple uses. You kind of have to like slide down the line a little bit longer. And then I also decided that because it was also kind of thicker and it was just harder to floss with it, that I was going to invest in a water pick. So I don't know if this is like the most sustainable option necessarily, but I don't know. I guess I kind of got a little freaked out about like PFAS and contaminants in my floss. So I went out and I bought a water pick. So here it is, if you can see, if you're watching. And it's rechargeable. So you just kind of like plug it in whenever it needs a little charge. So it's rechargeable, and I don't know, I'm not putting chemicals in my mouth anymore. So I feel better about it.
I did try that Tom's floss, and it is really hard to move because it's so thick, and I couldn't do it. But the water pick is great too. Awesome. Lenna, what do you have for us?
I think mine is going to be a little bit about upcycling. Children come with a bunch of stuff, but also sentiment sometimes will get to us, and you want to hold on to those baby clothes in a box for them. My mom gave me my baby box when I was right after I delivered my second child, and I'm not going to use any of it. Surprise, surprise. So it's like, thank you, Mom, for saving all of this stuff that I can't use. So for my kids, what I've done is I've saved their sheets because I made all of their sheets. It's a whole story. We accidentally bought a European size crib instead of an American size crib. They're different.
Yeah.
European sheets in America, so I had to make my own sheets. Anyway, so I've saved their sheets, and I'm going to use their onesies that were stained to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to hand this down. This isn't hand downable. But I'm going to cut up what parts are good from it and then make it into a baby quilt to save for them instead of a baby box. So
that's awesome.
Somehow you're saving things for sentiment and repurposing them into something that can be used.
Yeah.
Sentiment is hard with kids. So hard.
I remember going through the art that Logan went through, and I'm like, I can't throw this out.
Yeah. It means nothing to her. It's us. Yeah, it's us. Yeah, sentiment's hard with kids.
Take a picture of it? I don't know. What do you?
It's not the same. It's not the same.
Do is make a
face.
photo book.
Yeah, it's hard.
Take a picture of all of your kids' art and make them a photo book that's for like each year of school or something like that.
Yeah. It's just really hard.
I'm sentimental anyway.
So we actually got one of them framed.
Oh yeah, that's Logan's right there. She did it when she was 7. The flower.
Beautiful. They have boxes now.
Awesome. Well,
in the box.
Mm-hmm.
So. My green life hack is this awesome safety razor I just got within the last month. So I've been wanting a safety razor for a while, but I made myself use up my old stuff first. So this one is, as you can see, mermaid colored. it's multicolored, it's rainbow. I, of course, researched different ones online. This one had great reviews. So the way it works is the bottom here screws up, and then the top opens.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put not reusable, but recyclable stainless steel blades that are very thin and very sharp. I found out by barely touching them and cutting myself. But the idea is you're not using the plastic, right? And you can recycle the blades. So they're the old-fashioned safety blades that you see everywhere, and they're becoming a big in the zero waste community. And I used it and I liked it so far. So we'll see. The downside is it is just one blade. So for people that are used to shaving with like 3 or 4, might take some getting used to. It is also very sharp. So you have to be careful with how much pressure you apply. But I also sprung for the little stand to hold it in. Okay. So I like it so far, and I'm excited because I've, like I said, been wanting one of these for a while. So yeah.
I've been wanting a
safety blade. Yeah.
I've been like the old little flip knife thing I'm not there yet.
Yeah. It's crazy how these things that used to be so common and practical, we just stopped using for other things that are more convenient, but so much more wasteful. Mm-hmm. So looking back at stuff that used to work. It's like, why did we stop using it? It still works, right? So on that note, thank you guys for your time, and Lenna for being on. I think we learned a lot of great stuff. And our next show is going to be about ways to be green at work. And we're going to have another guest on named Thomas Jelly. And he is an expert in sustainability, and he does a lot of stuff globally. So I'm really excited to hear from him. Before we go, let's go around and say where everyone can be found online. Jen, are you on the Al Gore's internet anywhere?
No, not really. Just this show.
Here on Sustainably Geeky.
There you go.
Awesome. Ray and Chris, where can we find you guys online?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram as the Reluctant Yeti, or on Twitter. I'm there too. If you haven't found out why I'm the Reluctant Yeti, it's something that my wife called me, because I'm built for the cold weather,
And he hates it.
and I hate the cold weather. So it's
Aww.
so yeah, you can find me there. Also on Epically Geeky, and then Marginally Geeky when we do the show. You know, we're a little delayed on that one.
I'm on chapter 50. I'm getting there.
50?
Yeah, 50.
How many chapters? I forgot.
89.
There's a lot of
89.
The sucker's a 14-hour read, so we're so that part of that as well. So yeah, and once in a while I'll jump on these ones. I might be on the next one too. That's a good one.
Yeah, especially the company you work for.
Correct.
Yeah.
Looking for a nuclear plant. Yeah.
You know what? You might be surprised. We are very careful with the waste, and I can get into it.
Oh no, that's what I mean. It's
It's
interesting.
incredible.
You can find me here.
Chris, where can we find you?
Here, I can't with the science. I try. I'm like Penny from Big Bang Theory. She just like glazes over, but wants to know. I can't. It doesn't compute. It's fine. You can find me here. You can find me at Marginally Geeky, which I think we're doing our next one June 5th or 6th. And then Epically Geeky, and we just did an episode about the Avengers Endgame. Very spoilery. Don't watch it. Don't watch it if you haven't seen it. And then on Instagram at Cedar Birch Cottage, although I haven't posted anything in a really long time. But
Been a while.
But I will. But I'm on there.
Awesome. Lenna, where can we find you online?
Nowhere.
If you want to be found.
I am removing my online presence slowly but surely. So,
Okay, that's fine. Well, we got the exclusive here on Sustainable. And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Het's Gonna Be Me. Of course, on this show, Sustainably Geeky, and also on our parent show, Epically Geeky and Marginally Geeky, the book club podcast that we do. Thank you guys for listening. Please remember to subscribe and look us up on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. And we have also added the shows to Pandora and Spotify, so you can find us there as well. We appreciate you listening and subscribing, and of course, giving us a 5-star rating really helps. Sharing the show so that others can find it and learn all about sustainability with you guys. So thanks for listening. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.